I'm Christine Persichetti with this Currents News update. Pope John Paul I is on the road to sainthood. The campaign for his canonization began in 2003, but it was in 2011 when a hospital priest in Argentina told a young patient's mother to seek the intercession of John Paul I to save her daughter. Pope John Paul I set to be beatified after Pope Francis recognized a miracle attributed to him, the healing of a girl in Argentina who suffered from a brain disease and whose mother and nurses prayed for the former Pope's intercession. Albino Luciani was elected Pope in 1978 when he was 65 years old. He spoke with the crowd gathered in St. Peter's Square.
Ieri mattina io sono andato alla Sistina a votare tranquillamente. Mai avrei immaginato quello che stava per succedere.
And no one would have imagined that just 33 days later, he would be found dead. But in those 33 days, Pope John Paul I managed to introduce a new style into the papacy, often remembered as the smiling Pope because of his warm sense of humor. The beatification of Pope John Paul I will likely take place sometime next year. For him to reach sainthood, one more miracle needs to be attributed to him. The vaccine battle rages on here in New York City. A group of public school teachers went to court to fight against the city's mandate. Speaking before a 3-judge appellate court, the teachers say they shouldn't be forced from their classrooms, arguing there should be a testing option instead. And a reminder to parents of 8th graders, if you're planning to send your child to Catholic high school, the tax test is November 6th, so sign up now. Log on to taxinfo.com or call 866-61-TACHS. The deadline for registration is October 24th at 5 p.m. And all the Catholic school options available in the Diocese of Brooklyn are in this week's tablet. The paper has an overview of all the high schools and information on their open houses. Go to thetablet.org to subscribe or head to a church near you to pick up a copy. The Supreme Court weighing the Biden administration's request to reinstate the death penalty on the Boston Marathon bomber. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, now 28 years old, was convicted along with his brother Tamerlan of the 2013 attack that killed 3 and injured hundreds. Tamerlan died after a shootout with police. During opening statements, the court appeared to lean toward the death penalty. However, the court's newest conservative Catholic justice raised skeptical questions. Amy Coney Barrett saying, "I'm wondering what the government's end game is here. If you win, presumably that means he is relegated to living under the threat of a death sentence that the government doesn't plan to carry out. So I'm just having trouble following the point." Meanwhile, the Archdiocese of Boston has issued a statement. It reads in part, "As we have previously stated, Catholic teaching does not support the taking of life as a means of achieving justice. The incomprehensible suffering of so many caused by this heinous crime should appropriately be met with a sentence of imprisonment for life with no possibility of parole." Pope Francis has been preaching against the death penalty. In 2018, His Holiness modified the Catechism of the Catholic Church, declaring capital punishment as inadmissible.
Per quanto grave possa essere stato il reato commesso, la pena di morte è inammissibile perché attenta all'inviolabilità e dignità della persona.
The pontiff has also defined a life sentence as a secret death penalty. Gunfire echoed throughout Lebanon's capital Thursday as protesters rallied against the judge investigating last year's BEIRUT blast. At least 6 are dead and dozens injured. Authorities are unclear about what triggered the shootout. However, protesters say snipers fired at them from rooftops. It's been roughly 14 months since Beirut's port exploded, killing 215 people and injuring thousands. The violence rattling this nation once hailed as a shining example of Christian and Muslim unity. The G20 group of top world economies held an emergency summit in Rome this week to tackle the humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan created by the Taliban takeover after the U.S. withdrawal in August. The G20 agreed unanimously to offer financial aid, while most nations refused to recognize the Taliban and its extremist practices, particularly against women, many who are opting to do whatever they need to do to survive the new reality. A handful of women stand quietly but defiantly. They're here to protest the Taliban's de facto ban on girls going to school after 5th grade, a small act of great courage. But then, heavily armed Taliban fighters start to pour in. For a moment, it seems they may have come to protect the women, but the illusion is quickly shattered. A senior Talib rips a phone out of one woman's hands. His men shove journalists back. A machine gun burst sends a clear message: the protest is over. Previous protests have met a similar fate. On the streets of Karkhana neighborhood, the consequences of one recent demonstration can still be seen. At almost every beauty salon, images of women's faces have been defaced, as if to erase them from public life completely. The women inside this salon are too scared to appear on camera, but say the Taliban did it and then told them to put on a burqa and sit in their homes. But this city is full of brave women who refuse to do that. Arzo Kalikyar is an activist and mother of 5 who says she was forced to become a taxi driver when her husband was murdered last year, leaving behind his car but little else.
Since the Taliban regime has come to power, it has become very difficult.
While the Taliban have not officially banned women from driving, she says she has received threats.
In some places where I see Taliban checkpoints, I'm forced to go through a street or change my route. But I accepted this risk for the sake of my children.
On the other side of town, English teacher Atifa Watanyar is working hard to give her students a better future. The past year has not been easy. In May, a horrific bombing targeted the Saeed al-Shuhada school where she teaches, taking more than 80 innocent lives. Incredibly, the school reopened, but weeks later, the Taliban swept to power and announced that for the time being, from 6th through 12th grade, only boys should come to school. She says while she's afraid of the Taliban, she still teaches.
Yes, what should we do? What should we do? It's just the thing that we can do for our children, for our daughters, for our girls.
16-year-old Sanam wanted to be a dentist, but now she's not allowed to attend school.
I feel all my dreams are crushed and buried, for I won't be allowed to go to school and study. All my motivation is completely gone. The Taliban are the people who... They are the cause of the situation I am in right now. My spirit is gone. My dreams are buried.
In a joint statement, G20 leaders said safe passage should be given to all Afghans who wish to leave. In this country, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops has partnered with 45 Catholic charity agencies to provide resettlement services to Afghan refugees. A Hawaiian man is on the verge of setting a world record, becoming the first double amputee to sail around the world by himself. After losing an arm and a leg to a drunk driver in 2008, Dustin Reynolds sank what little he had into a boat and a dream. Now, after 7 years, he's been to 36 countries and logged over 35,000 miles. Wow. That is this Currents News Update. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news.